Hey guys, how's it going and welcome back to the channel. Today I thought I'd give you guys a little update on the Mexican black king snake project that I have right behind me, in which case we are actually entering the next step in breeding with them, which is going to be cooling them down for the winter. Now before we get this video started, if you guys were looking forward to seeing some Mexican black king snakes in this video, well, I'm afraid you're not. These guys are actually pretty much brumated for the winter. I'm just moving them over to a cooler section of the room. So if you're here thinking like, oh my gosh, we get to see some king snakes, that's not the case. However, you know, I can show you this picture and this picture. I know they're a couple months old, but I mean, have you guys tried taking pictures of king snakes? It's very difficult. Even with the pictures these took, it probably took me like 10 or 12 tries to try to get it. And for the most part, most of them just end up being like black blurs. It's super difficult to focus in on these guys, even with the camera, because I mean, they just never stop moving. But I will be making some updates with these guys as soon as they're out of brumation and start giving me some Mexican black king snake babies. So if that's something you're interested, or even seeing some more of my animals, make sure at the end of the video to go to that lower right hand corner and hit that subscribe button. And now that we got that intro out of the way, let's get to the topic at hand, and that is cooling down your Mexican black king snakes. Pretty much works for actually most king snakes, if not all the king snakes. It's not just, you know, specific to the Mexican black king snakes, just to get that out of the way. Three main topics we're going to be going over today is why you want to cool down your king snakes, how to prepare, you know, before the cooling down process, and how to cool them down specifically. Starting off with number one, which is why you want to cool down your king snakes, is basically to get them to breed. It's a crucial factor. Now during the process, when the king snake is down for the winter, brumating, anything you want to call it, the male is going to start presenting some viable sperm, which is, you know, vital for breeding with the female. This is DVCB Exotics, and we're going over sex ed for king snakes. Pretty much to sum it up, you need to brumate them in order to breed them. There's no not doing it. It's pretty flexible with the amount of time you do it and with the temperatures you use. For instance, there's a lot of, you know, numbers people are throwing out. Some say 3 months, some say 2.5, some say 4 months. Pretty much everyone seems to be having success. You know, everyone claims their own thing, so just gotta try some stuff out and see what works best for you. As far as temperatures go, it's pretty much a broad range. Some people have success doing it as high as like 65 degrees, whereas some people do it as low as 50. Pretty much the general rule of thumb is you want to keep it around the 55-degree area. Personally, with my pair, you know, just what I'm able to do in the building that I have, we're going to be cooling them anywhere from around 55 to 59 degrees. Then going over topic number two, it's going to be how to cool down your king snakes. Now, this being my first time cooling down my Mexican black king snakes, I'm pretty nervous. I spent a pretty penny on these guys, and just the fact that I'm like, oh, you know, I'm just not gonna feed them for, you know, 3 months, that's a little worrying. But I've gotten some reassurances from people, and you know, this is just how they do it with colubrids, so you know, there's really nothing to worry about. So the actual act of cooling down your king snakes is actually pretty easy. I mean, you're just dropping temperatures. For the first month of November, I started for 2 weeks. I started lowering the temperatures from, you know, the 80 to 85 degrees that it is down to about 75. Then a week later, I turned off the heat completely for about a week to now we're just a little past Thanksgiving, and where I'll be putting them fully into the brumation room. Although pretty much at this point they're sitting at around 63 degrees and they're down completely. I haven't seen them for a couple days. They're both hiding in their little black hide things, and that's pretty much it. So they're pretty much down for the most part, but I just want to get them a little cooler just to make sure that metabolism slows down as much as I can get it to. So as I said, you know, it's a pretty easy process. The only thing you really need to do as maintenance for them while they're under for the winter is just make sure you're changing the water bowls, you know, every now and then check out on them, make sure they're doing okay. One thing to look out for is to make sure that if they are going through shed, make sure they are shedding nice and clean. If they're having any problems, I recommend bringing them out of brumation and making sure that they shed properly. You know, I know it's, you know, you might not risk the year that you're not going to get any babies, but you know, you can always try again next year. But I have seen people that their king snakes start having some shedding issues, and then all of a sudden they don't make it. And now for the final topic at hand, which is going to be the steps you're going to want to be taking for the process leading up to cooling down. So I started my process around October, and then it really started the cooling down section, you know, right after Thanksgiving. I'm gonna do Thanksgiving to February. I just kind of chose these dates. It's the ones that Port City Python does for their corn snakes, so I've seen it work for them, so I'm just gonna try it. Mid-October is when I gave my king snakes their last meal. I gave them a full size, you know, large mouse, and then that's the only meal that they've had up to this point. After they get their last meal, you're going to want to continue leaving the heat on for at least 2 weeks and make sure that you do get a bowel movement from them and that all the poop is gone. This is going to be vital, of course, when you're putting down any animal or when any animal is going through brumation. If they have any food in their stomach, that's not going to digest because there's no heat coming for the reptile. So it's basically just going to rot in there, and that can kill the animal. So after you got those nice little snake poops and you know that everything's flushed out of the system, you can finally start the process. And that'll bring you right around to the beginning of November area, and that's when I start lowering the temperatures. I go from like 85 to 75, and then 75 to 70, and then lastly I just unplug the thermostats and heat pads all together. Now that process was around 2 weeks, and then for the last week I've just kind of kept them like this to the point where just to make sure, you know, monitor any last behavior, see what they're doing. But now that they're both in their hides, I can tell they're ready to brumate, and we'll be putting them over to the other side where, like I said, it gets a little cooler. And there you have it, a little guide on how to cool down king snakes for breeding. And that's pretty much gonna wrap up the video today. I need to get going and change out some waters for these guys and then move them over into the other section of the room. And I just wanted to make a little video real quick, you know, showing some documentation on my first year doing this and just giving some information out there. You know, I see a lot of people doing just a lot of corn snake cooling down. I guess corn snakes and king snakes are pretty similar, but I figured, you know, I'll just make a king snake specific one. And as always, if you liked the video, please feel free to give us a thumbs up. If you want to see some more of my animals or breeding products, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at DBCB Exotics. And other than that, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.